welcome to File New. My name is Ryan Selvy. I'm a motion designer based in Brooklyn, New York, and we're here on File New, which is your best source of creator, design, and art news to keep you up to date. Today we've got a lot to go through. There's a lot of upheaval in the social media landscape, which is pivotal for a bunch of artists and creators such as yourself. And we're streaming to both YouTube and to Behance, so it's great to have everybody here. There's a live chat, but also if you're watching the replay, I promise to make it worth your while. We're here for about the next hour or so let's go ahead and hop straight on into the news. You probably have heard some of it by now because I feel like it's around the internet a lot. But today was some really exciting news updates for Adobe. This is on Adobe Live, but this is something that I would want to report about no matter what. It is a... we are clipping audio. We're going to bring it down a little bit. But we have a new update for Photoshop coming down. This is all in a private beta right now, so you don't have access to it quite yet. But the Photoshop program on desktop is getting access to a very exciting new feature, and it is co-editing, which you've seen probably in other apps like Google Docs or so. And basically this is going to be a new collaboration tool that is natively within your Photoshop, and it is talking about how you're able to see multiple cursors on the screen, and you guys can edit documents together. There's a whole nice write-up all about it on the Photoshop blog if you go to blog.adobe.com, and there's some really exciting ways that you can get involved, like signing up to test the live co-editing in Photoshop. And there's going to be a registration screener, and so you can test drive the new technology and influence how it evolves. With things like this, it's always really great to have as much feedback as possible, and it's great to have artists be able to help tweak and edit it that are core users before it goes completely live. So make sure you check it out. It seems really cool. It's something that I've been really wanting for a very long time, and I am excited to see finally kind of being talked about and coming to the mainstream for Photoshop. The next up is some kind of depressing news, and this is for a bunch of comic creators or graphic artists that are really into comic books. The largest comic distributor, Diamond Comic Distributors, Inc., recently just had to file for bankruptcy. So if you don't recognize the name, you probably recognize something that was originally distributed for it. This news is coming from Screen Rant, is where I found about it, but they're reporting on it from Business Wire. It said that it had filed for voluntary relief using Chapter 11 for the United States Bankruptcy Code to aid in business restructuring. They received a $39 million staking horse bid in an affiliate of Universal Distribution of Alliance Game Distributors. This is huge names. Superhero comic books that you're familiar with across the board, but this is really going to be felt across the comic book and graphic novel industry, and it's a sign of the changing times, but this is something that's happening, and it's like obviously comic books and the ways that we have absorbed them over the years has changed. I know that there's also been some attempts and efforts to do more graphic novels and comic books through iPads and apps, but this is, it's always so nice to go to a comic book store and be able to just flip through different comics, pick them up, feel them with your hands. And so it'll be interesting to see where this goes. Just because they filed for bankruptcy doesn't mean that they're done and they're gone. It just normally is a different way for them to be able to survive when funds are really tight. We'll see if they stick around or if it's going to be something that is something in the past. Speaking of things that are going to maybe be something of the past, there has been a lot of social media upheaval, especially for creators lately. And one of the things to come out of this week, and we're going to talk about the TikTok ban in just a second, but one of the things that is coming up is PixelFed. Now, PixelFed is a app that is built on the Fediverse, which is what things like Mastodon is built on, which is a protocol. And PixelFed is a service that is built on this protocol to be more similar to Instagram, and as an Instagram competitor. PixelFed actually just launched a actual app for their service. There have been some other ones that have been accessing it, or you've had to access it through the web, but they just recently announced that they have a iOS app that you can now download. On Android, it quickly went to the #1 spot in the social media, and I still think it is very difficult to get onto, because just like Mastodon, you have to sign up, and when you sign up, there is a weird like pick your server, which is confusing. I don't necessarily know if the normies will necessarily get onto this, but it is something that is showing that people are feeling pretty frantic, because there's a lot of different social media conversation and discourse happening, with policies changing, with TikTok getting banned. There's a lot of need and desire to have some sort of outlet or place to go, as people are kind of having this diaspora of different motives and different, wants to go to a different place. Penny Noodles is in the Behance chat saying, oh yeah, I immediately got confused by Mastodon, which I think is a very common and popular opinion. It's something how I personally felt. Also, I always like to preface that all of these stories are picked by me. The opinions and ideas behind them are all mine and not reflective of Adobe's official viewpoints. So if they are, anything that Adobe disagrees with, it comes back to me, not to Adobe. But thank you for being here. Also, over on YouTube, thank you for commenting and helping the algorithm by saying hello in the YouTube chat. It helps us be served to other new users. If you're watching for the first time, it's good to have you here. Thank you to Oliver and Wade over on YouTube for saying hello. And then over on Behance, we have Oliver saying, I'm on PixelFed. I have been for ages. Also, Apurva, welcome back to the stream. And Penny is also saying that Oliver is everywhere and everything. Very true. Now, to continue this diaspora of social media, this is kind of late breaking news, just kind of came up today, about an hour or so before we went live. There is a new app that is in development called Flashes, and this is going to be based off of a different protocol, the AT protocol, which is the protocol that Blue Sky works off of. Now, as just a really quick reminder, all protocol means is the fact that it is not a singular entity that owns the algorithm, that owns the structure. It is instead a shared source where multiple different services can come in, create new apps, and reference the same feed, and then repurpose it to be however they want it to be. Now, Flashes is what the independent app developer is creating and recently announced is going to be a image and video based app that goes off of AT protocol. So you would still be able to log into it with similar login credentials that you have with Blue Sky, but instead it would be all image based and video based. So it could pull from the same feeds, but it would be like, okay, this is focused on image upload and video upload. The structure is already there to use it through the algorithm. And this one is called Flashes. Also, thank you to Clever and ActAV for saying hello over on YouTube. Clever is saying hello, algorithm, with some little popcorn, which I appreciate. Now, this isn't out yet. Flashes is, like I said, late and breaking. This is something that I'm sure is in response also to the idea that TikTok is probably going away on Sunday. And this is very similar looking to Instagram. If you want more updates, there is a profile on Blue Sky Flashes, and it is flashesapp.bluesky.social. You can see that 1 hour ago, they updated it and said, thanks so much for your interest. For your information, the app is not available yet. I hope to start an open test flight beta next week, and we'll post the invite here. So if you're interested in getting in on that test flight, which is just a beta app on your phone, this is a way to hopefully maybe get it. And yeah, Flashes app. Then next up, continuing this constant discussion about our jumping between services to services, there was a recent free our feeds which came up earlier this week, which is a new initiative that is being funded by a bunch of people, including Mark Ruffalo, which is really weird. It says that this is a response to Mark Zuckerberg going full Musk last week, they said. And they don't want to have billionaires control. This is actually going to be a incentive and fundraising to build things on the AT protocol, which is Blue Sky and the thing that we were just talking about, Flashes. They have different technical advisors and custodians, but you can see down here, for whatever reason, Mark Ruffalo is there. So if that makes a big difference to you, this might be something you're interested in. But it says, what is the purpose of the Free Our Feeds campaign? It says, we're raising funds to launch a new public interest foundation that puts Blue Sky's underlying technology on a pathway to become an open and healthy social media ecosystem that cannot be controlled by any single company or billionaire, including Blue Sky itself. Blue Sky is built on values we share by people we admire. However, founders are not companies. They will come under the same pressure all businesses face to maximize return to their investors, and as we have seen, their leadership can change in the long term. To make the vision we share with Blue Sky a reality, there needs to be an alternative option for users to choose from in the first place, backed up by independent infrastructure. And so this is kind of the same idea in the same way that Flashes is coming to be. This will stimulate the development and try to get more apps out there that are using the same protocol so that then you can switch all in between. Once again, this is not an endorsement. I'm not saying for you to donate to this. I just think it is a sign of the times that things like this are establishing, and we're interested to seeing it. Welcome back to Bruce. Says, hi, a file new friends. Jumping in to say, what's up over here? Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate you. Wade says, you know who is also on Blue Sky? The guy Ryan Selvy. Yes, you can find me on ryanselvy.com at bluesky.com, which is a way that they have verification on Blue Sky, which is interesting, and also a contentious topic right now of verifiable things. Blue Sky actually has come out and had an issue with a little bit of the verification being linked to domain names, because they said that people that don't have domain names of their names have other bad actors buying the domain names of their names. So, like, this isn't an exact example, but this is an example that would be, is if Sandra Bullock doesn't own sandrabullock.com, somebody could buy sandrabullock.com and say, hey, look, I am officially sandrabullock.com. So they're looking into other ways of verification. They are leaning more into the idea of maybe third party, whereas, you know, Facebook recently has jumped off of third party and said that they only want to do community notes. So interesting, two different ways to approach and see where it goes. But along with all of this change and disruption, good old Meta has started blocking different links to PixelFed. So it's just a reminder that all of these places also have control over the algorithm. They have control of what appears, what is blocked. With things like these new protocols, the idea is that we will be able to have more control over them. But apparently, as people were posting links about PixelFed being an alternative, or they're going onto other sites, Meta has started deleting and blocking posts. This was reported on by 404 Media, which is linked in the raindrop, along with all the other links from previous episodes and today's episodes. You can also sort by by hashtag. And you can see here from 404 Media, they made this cute little image with like a kitty with a camera, and they even tried to post something about it, and you can see that they have details that says this post may be use misleading links or content to trick people to visit or stay on a website, and they immediately deleted it. This is something that we also saw with Elon Musk with X. He was deleting and down sourcing any outlinks to Mastodon or Blue Sky, which are competitors. As content creators, as artists, it's important to know that you are experiencing different algorithms as you're posting your work. This could be related to things that are on the images, or things that are in the body copy, or things that people are reporting or not reporting. And this is disappointing to say the least for me. You know, I like to see equal open competition with being able to post around and go between without having my stuff blocked just because it's a competitor. But Meta thinks otherwise. And then hopping out a little bit of the drama. We'll be back to the drama in just a second, I promise. Oliver says because Meta is scared. Yes, I agree. But Substack, which is also its own controversial platform in itself, recently launched live video, and it is now available to all publishers in the Substack app, which I don't know if you knew that they even were testing that out, because until this news story broke on TechCrunch, and they were actually announcing it based off of their own website and blog, I did not actually even know that it was a thing. But it says, as of today, and this was posted on January 14th, so this was yesterday, we're expanding access to live video, making it available to all publishers on Substack. Live video empowers writers and creators to engage with their audience in real time and collaborate with fellow publishers to leverage the Substack network. After the stream, you'll get a recording and AI-generated clips to share across notes and social channels. To start using live video, simply download or update the Substack app and ensure that you have at least 10 free subscribers in the Substack app. It's as easy to use as a video call. This apparently has been something they've been testing out since last fall, but something now they're kind of rolling out to everyone. This is something that we've seen on all other social platforms. You know, we have obviously Twitch and YouTube, but Instagram and TikTok also have their own versions of live streaming, and it's something that, you know, on Instagram, I don't feel like I check out live streams too much, but every once in a while I will click in and I'll see. Also, welcome back to Peter. Good to see you. No worries about being late. There's nothing to be late for. And as creators, it's also interesting to see how this is changing. I make assets, and you can live stream to, I know, Instagram through OBS. That are things that you can create on, you know, Photoshop, or you could create it on After Effects. But something that you can do to level up and add another element to authenticity to your brand. But the idea of streaming is kind of still in question. It's obviously increasingly popular with these services because they continue to add them. But something that was really interesting is that peak viewership for Twitch for the month of December 2024 was actually the lowest it has been in like 4 years, I think, since, believe it or not, July 2020. And the Passion Fruit blog, which I really like, they are really good for posting about creator content and updates, said that they had its lowest month in viewer counts, but it's not all bad news. Apparently, according to this stream charts, active channels has increased, average channels has increased, and so while maybe the viewership is down, there is still an interest in creators and people creating things. So we will see. I know Adobe Live also recently just hopped back onto Twitch, and Twitch is a lot of fun. So if you have a Twitch account, that's something to definitely check out. Wade Acuff, who is actually moderating this chat right now, has his own show, and it is a really good time and very fun, and has a different vibe between YouTube and Behance. So it's its own little beautiful nest egg, and has its own culture and its own rewards and things to give out, which is also really cool to see. You can see people create little emotes in Photoshop that then become the emotes for the different channels that then get passed around the website. And then, of course, you guys know me. I love my interstitials. I love my pop-ups. I love the things that are giving extra character onto the streams that, you know, I create in different Adobe products. But then let's talk a little bit about TikTok. Today is January 15th, which is a Wednesday if you are listening to this later, which means we are 4 days away from the shutdown of TikTok in the US. This is most likely going to happen. TikTok recently actually came out and said that they are going to shut down the app, which is taking an extra step of what they are legally set to do. As far as the law is concerned, on the 19th, different app stores like the iOS App Store for iPhones and the Android Google Play Store are just required to stop hosting the app as a download. However, TikTok has come out and said, no, you know what, we're just going to shut it down. I don't know how this is going to work with VPNs. I know in places like India, when TikTok was banned, there were Indian users that were just using VPNs and logging in. I don't know if they're going to have a way to thwart that or how that works. But there has been a lot of discussion, a lot of rumors about who wants to buy it. People saying they want to buy it, like Elon Musk, like surprisingly Mr. Beast. But it really seems more and more obvious that TikTok does not want to sell. They'd rather shut down and be inaccessible. than to sell. And even if they did sell, most likely to someone like one of the sharks from Shark Tank, that they would only buy the platform and not buy the algorithm. So, I mean, that's kind of like, buying Old Navy, but then having to make your own clothes. It would just be a different thing. So, interesting to see people react to that. There is a lot of upheaval. There is a lot of confusion, uncertainty. There was actually also a big protest of users downloading another app that I think is called Red Note on the App Store, and that is predominantly Chinese users, and Chinese and American users were discussing if that continues to take off. I would not be surprised if that also gets banned. It is a weird time to see the internet react, and I was seeing an article earlier today that said that downloading and hopping on a Red Note is the current trend. Trends only last as long as the next one that pops up, and it'll be interesting to see if this is a trend, and if it's not a trend and something that actually sticks around, then I'm sure we will see similar action that is happening towards TikTok. But for the meantime, 4 days left. I see lots of people on Instagram Reels even being like, "I'll miss you, TikTok." And they're posting a bunch of videos that are old TikToks that they're gonna miss. I picked this image for this next story because I just thought it was too funny not to include. It is these two people with their drone. Drones have been all over the place in recent news. As creators, they're really good for, weddings, for creating real estate videos, for cinematic shots. Before, you had to buy a helicopter or rent a helicopter and get these giant shakeless cameras that had a gyroscope that went along with the helicopter. So we're talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. Drones have made the ability to create 4K, 8K videos for someone who can just, drop a few $100s or a few $1,000s. DJI was also getting into weird territory with the whole idea of being a Chinese manufacturer and having drones that are cameras. But just this week, DJI came out and said that they are no longer going to be geofencing no-fly zones. Up to this point, when you first got DJI, you could fly these suckers anywhere. I remember having one with my old agency. We had one, and it just flew up into the sky and disappeared, and it would just go up until it loses signal. Then it got to a point where they switched it up and they said, okay, you need to have a pilot's license for this. You also have these parameters. There are no fly zones. There are no areas where you can fly these things. But then I don't know what changed, what's up, but DJI just came out and said, all right, we're getting rid of our no fly zones. You can now fly over the White House. You can now fly to the airport. You can fly wherever you want. This is interesting and strange. I imagine that this is going to be a change in legislation, just like anything else. Lots of legislation talk today. Once again, Ryan Selvy, not Adobe. But I could see this changing if you own one. I don't know if it'll be a firmware update, what happens, but this is going to be very interesting to see. Penny Doodles in the chat is saying, my dad has a drone. It's a great dad hobby. And Peter is saying, drones are very popular, but we have regulations constantly changing. Yes, and I imagine they will continue to change. And it's interesting to see things be able to flip a switch in the same way that, now we have these cars where they can flip a switch and they can change subscription models or what they're offering, or if you want to, subscribe to heated seats, And then let's go back to the little bit more of the drama, because they're talking about different things companies can just change on the back end. And it came to light that apparently Mark Zuckerberg gave the green light to train teams, have teams train Llama, which is their AI system, on copyrighted works. This is a claim that was filed and reported on by TechCrunch. Well, they didn't file the claim, but they reported that it was. And it says, counsel for the plaintiffs in a copyright lawsuit filed against Meta alleged that Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg gave the green light to the team behind the company's Llama AI models to use a data set of pirated ebooks and articles for training. the case, Cadre v. Meta, is one of many against tech giants developing AI that accuse the companies of training models on copyrighted works without permission. For the most part, defendants like Meta have asserted that they're shielded by fair use, the U.S. legal doctrine that allows for the use of copyrighted works to make something new as long as it's sufficiently transformative. Many creators reject that argument. There's a full write-up on the TechCrunch website that is linked to in the Raindrop, as we mentioned. But I think this is also a good point to last week when we were reporting about Adobe and their awesome interview with Creative Block and talking about how they're really focusing on creators and consent and the idea that only training off of things where people have said, yes, I'm willing to have this trained off of. So make sure you go check out that article. It is in episode 73's Raindrop with Creative Block, or you can just Google Creative Block Adobe AI and it will pop up. But boo. And yeah, so that is the most of the news that we have just for today. That's only our first section. We have a few other sections. We've got about 25 minutes left. So I would love to hop into our next section unless you guys have anything that you want to talk about that I did not cover. Go ahead, say it in the chat, and I will bring it up. But in the meantime, let's go and hop into Font of the Week. The font of the week this week is one called TT Aliens. It has really cool ligatures. It has really weird, spooky, pointy font. It is a serif font. It is developed by TypeType, which I think we have reported on before. This is, as every font of the week, is available on Adobe Fonts, which comes free with a Creative Cloud subscription. This is designed by Vika Usmanova, and it is a beautiful font. The About says that it is a dynamic, viscous, ductile, and very prickly display typeface. As part of this project, we decided to investigate the influence of a foreign substance and the consequent transformation of the original forms, which ultimately leads to extreme visual changes. TT Alien Serif has a lot of smooth lines and not quite standard stroke contrast. Despite its extremeness, the serif will look good both in large and small body sizes. As with any of them, you can always flip through the different inspirations. I love this one that has it around like a CD. It feels a little bit gothic, but also just funky in its own way. As with anything else, you know, I just activated it on my Creative Cloud, and then we can hop in here. I'm going to write File New. It's a horrible, hideous red that I have picked for whatever reason. We're going to change this to Aliens. It has just this serif typeface weight that we have, but you can see that this F has this really crazy whip around. The L looks kind of like a backwards J, and this is in all caps, which is really neat. TypeType has lots and lots of fonts. I don't think all of them are on Adobe fonts, but a big selection of them are. And you can go to their website and you can check out all the different things that they do have. Just for inspiration, I'm going to go ahead and pull up their own kind of breakdown of it, and you can see all the different ones that they also have for here, with further descriptions, character sets, the kind of background behind it, talking about how it's infected, how it's a neat hipster grotesque, but has small features. I personally think that it's mostly a display typeface, but you can see here, this is what it looks like when it's a body copy. I think that it'd be kind of just a little overwhelming for my designs personally. But just a little something that you can continue to mess with. I mean, and just look at all these crazy things that you can also have that are just kind of built in the base. I think the ligatures are probably the coolest part with, you know, FI and FT, or using double Fs. You can always access any of these by kind of going and highlighting ones that are working together, and it can give you a prompt, but you can also go always to Window Glyphs, and it will explore whatever typeset you already have picked up. I mean, look at these curly brackets. They're so cool. I'll blow this up so you guys can actually see a little bit better, since I know it's tinier for you. They have sparks, which, you know, I always like to have. This is kind of a spark that has shown up to be a lot of AI references. It's not what it's originally for, but there's actually a really good video on YouTube all about how that kind of happened. I love the square vibes of this. So you can really get creative with it. You can probably repurpose some of these. They have even, the @ symbol and other signature symbols that you have on your keyboard on the top, upside down things as well. And just really cool. And I'd love to see if you guys end up using it and putting it in any of your works, any of your projects. Would love to see how it's used. And let's see. Latest news, File New is changing its font name style. Absolutely not. Ray wants to know if that is Cyrillic type. And let me see. I'm not familiar if there's Cyrillic type. I don't even know what Cyrillic looks like. But I'm sure I could even probably say I don't know. I'm sorry. That is not something that I know. Now, Peter's also asking if we can find a new perspective. What are you looking for? Different typefaces? Are you looking for kind of different typefaces that are big, or what are you looking for? I'd love to hear your feedback. But that is for now the pressing font of the week. So make sure you go and you check that out. Let's now go ahead and hop into Spotlight. This first one is more of a brand activation rather than a straight up design, but I just thought it was a really cool brand activation. I'm a big fan of Severance, the show on Apple TV. It is all about these people that have a part of their brain that makes the people that when they step on property for work, they forget their outside life and just work, and then when they step outside, they forget everything they did back in, which kind of plays to the idea that they are in like this little hamster box. I think that what they did yesterday in Grand Central here in New York was really fascinating. They built a square box and then had the real actors from the show just sit at their desks and work the whole time, which is like such a simple idea, but also such a genius brand activation. There's a bunch of videos all over the internet for it. The one that I had found was off of a Instagram account that I really like called welcome.jpg, and you can just see the different like swarms of people around the box with all the actors in. They just continued to act out as if they were working without any awareness of the people around them. They had the retro futuristic computers that look really cool with a little ball instead of a mouse. And I just thought it was really, really cool. The new series launches on Friday, which I'm excited about. I am very interested in seeing it. Once again, this is not a paid ad or anything, but I just think that it's a really cool brand activation. And with someplace as heavy foot traffic as Grand Central Station in New York City, this was really cool for all the actors to sign on for it. And a big props to thinking outside of the box for some brand activations or when you're kind of approaching a different topic. Next up in Spotlight, we have the awards for album cover of the year. I always love album covers. I often find myself remembering the album cover more so than the name of both the artist and the song, which is a little embarrassing, and I don't know what that says about my memory, but I'm such a visual person. This is the first place and the second place. In the Raindrop, I went ahead and linked to a breakdown on It's Nice that talks all about it. This comes from a yearly kind of breakthrough of the best of the year, and this is from Art Vinyl. This is the 20th year that they've done it. This one in particular is called Hiatus Coyote, and their album, which was Love Heart Cheat Code by Rajni Pereira. And it's blue with a bunch of noise around some of the shading, which is cool. You can see the noise on the knees here. You can see the noise on the hand here. That's kind of like stippling noise. Also, the noise looks very physical for the hair here as it kind of traces off into the curls. And it is a woman, presumably woman, with a headdress of sorts holding a very long snake, and then has like a portal floating over the fingertips of the hand. It says the art used for, and this is quoting from Creative Boom, this is Abby Bamford, and it says the art used for Love Heart Cheat Code was an existing piece of Pereira's work that was to be the final piece in Palm's tattoo, but ended up being the right fit for the album. Palm adds, it was sentimental to close that chapter of my life with this record and imagery. I love that the line work has strong design elements, and the blue took many attempts as I worked directly with the layout designer to find the right Pantone. During this process, Palm says she learned a lot about blue and how light affects how we perceive color. She describes the final artwork as simple yet refined and totally striking. On winning the prize, Pereira says, "Thank you so much for this award. I have so much love for Nye, Palm, and Hiatus Coyote, their skills as artists, their generosity in sharing their gifts, and incredible work. Thank you for this honor," which is really pretty. Peter says it's a highly symbolic figure. And yeah, what do you guys think? Do you guys think this is worthy of number one? I think it's a beautiful one. I can't really relate it to anything else. I think it's creative. I think that it is ownable. I think it is very of itself. And then in second place, there was Fountains DC Romance, and this was created by Lulu Lin. Taiwanese artist Lulu Lin came in second place with their artwork for Romance, the fourth album by Dublin band Fontes DC, who were the Glastonbury Park stage headliners in 2024. The band licensed a series by Lin for use across the Romance album campaign. There's other really great ones like Carlita, Sentimental by Lewis Brown. This is Best Art Vinyl founder Andrew Heap says of the year's competition. In our 20th year of the Best Art Vinyl Award, we're proud to acknowledge the incredible art and design that looks so intriguing and different from any of its award-winning predecessors, which I think looks so cool that it has a trophy that people can own. It kind of almost here, I don't know if this is true. I don't know what it is, but this almost looks 3D printed because you can kind of see the grooves. I'm not entirely sure. Or maybe it's just grooved in the way that it kind of is just edged. If you're listening to this, it kind of looks like a vinyl, black vinyl that has been kind of shoved over top of a Sims diamond that is all black, and then it's all on a marble cube pedestal. And it's very cool. But you can check out all the other ones and a great write-up of who created them, how they created them, and why they are winners from shortlisted artworks. But all on Creative Boom. And once again, that is the article, Art Vinyl Names Record Cover Artwork of the Year, written by Abby Bamford. Next in our spotlight, we have, I wasn't sure to include this in either Rebrand or in Spotlight, so I just made it our last spotlight before Rebrand. And this one is called Culture Hava. And what I really loved about this brand in particular was the fact that it starts with a K, culture with a K. And what they ended up doing was using a bunch of iconography and shapes to then recreate a symbol of the K, which is really nice, and then kind of repeated it over and over again. This was reported on actually by It's Nice That. I know I messed it up and said the last one was It's Nice That, but this is It's Nice That. It says, Auntie's community-led identity for culture Havna captures the power of participatory design. Designed and developed to evolve and adapt, Auntie's brand shows how design can service the community around it. Written by Harry Bennett. I just was immediately called to it from the very fascinating shapes, and there was a lot of research and study behind it. I love the use of orange. I love how ownable it is. I love how it's super weird but still legible. Like if you look at the herb garden, you can see the different herbs that are pointing off of it, but then if you remember that it's a K, you can always see the K. And I just like design systems as well. I know Andrew Hockrottle, who is on Office Hours in 20 Minutes, talks a lot about design systems rather than just coming up with straight up logos. This is a really cool exploration of it. You can also see when used in motion, you can kind of flip through them individually as long as it kind of sticks to the same grid system. And it's just really pretty, and it's something that I will definitely be referencing when I'm kind of reapproaching different artwork and brand systems moving forward. And this is from January 9th on It's Nice That, so go ahead and check it out. We've got about 15 minutes left, so I'd love to hop into Rebrand. All right, so Rebrand, let's start off hot with a nice controversial one for everybody. Walmart rebranded. Do you see the before and the after? Forgive me for kind of the pixelation of this one, but on the left is before, on the right is after. As far as all the different brand design reviews that I have seen, everyone is very happy with it. And a lot of people are saying until you see the before and the after, and you see the change in the hue and saturation of blue, and you see the change of kind of like the edges as they curve, you then finally kind of be like, oh, okay, I can see how it's updated and how it's fixed. People are lamenting it as a very strong rebrand. Specifically, I know we've talked a lot about Creative Block today, but Creative Block went out and said, ignore the hate. Walmart's bold new branding is the definition of a glow up. The thing that I really like about it, less so, is this change of the signia, but instead I really enjoy what they did with the typeface. The typeface is more compact, it is thicker, it feels more structurally sound, and it actually is based off of a hat that the owner wore in a 1980s picture with the original logo on the top. I think that the logo is more reminiscent of their roots. I think that blue is still stronger than this brown. The brown just kind of reads as UPS. Christelle is saying absolutely more impactful. Astroful is saying I like it. Apurva is saying they just turned the lights on. Peter is saying exceptional conceptual change. Wade is saying, try harder. Hot take, he says. Penny said, I was going to say the new logo reminds me of old Walmart with their weird cafe. Wade says definitely better, but not really bold. Nicer colors. Clever says, wow, kind of like they fixed the things the designers asked for ages ago, with a little eye roll. And Yasina says, I knew it. I knew I remembered the old a bit when I saw it. Which, like, shout out to you guys, because I grew up near a Walmart that had the old branding for a really long time with the star. And I don't even really remember this is the Walmart that I remember. The one that I grew up near, like, I want to make sure I pull it up in the right way. I'm grabbing an image off of Wikipedia right now. But this is the Walmart that I really remember. This weird kind of beveled Walmart sans serif with a star in between of it. So the fact that you guys remember one before that is super impressive. But I think this looks really good. And Oliver is saying it's a rebrand, but it's not a Jaguar rebrand, which I actually saw a lot of like designers and reviewers really liking the Jaguar, because it did what it was supposed to, and it kind of revitalized the brand, and no one had really talked about Jaguar for a while. But interesting to say the least. Peter's agreeing that the fonts really are much better. I agree. I think that's the strong point of it. And then, yes, I like the colors are more saturated. As we get closer and closer to a fully screened world, an AR world, we have access to much more beautiful colors that are not reliant on just ink on paper. Saturation in apps, I feel like, is where your logo and your colors can be seen way more than in person. Whether you love that or hate that, I think that's just the reality of it. I love RGB, and CMYK always kind of kills me because it kind of takes the life out of it. So it feels like this is way more of a focus on an RGB color. And if you're not familiar with that, RGB just stands for red, green, blue, and CMYK stands for cyan, yellow, magenta, and key black. I don't know why it's not CYMB. I guess maybe just because B would maybe seem like it's blue again, but I don't know. CMYK. Wade says, though, when I heard Walmart and Rebrand, I knew it was going to be ultra safe. Yes, I mean, this is a huge company, gigantic, one of the biggest companies in the world. Any change is going to be very cautious and with a lot of thought, and I'm sure this was a multi-million dollar rebrand. But nonetheless. Speaking of smaller ones, though, this one's coming from brand new. This is MUI, or MUI. Maybe it's MUI. I'm not sure which one it is. This is new logo and packaging, and it was done by Happy Centro. This is an update of a coffee roastery that I'd never heard of before. I love coffee, but I had not heard of this. However, I really enjoyed the rebrand here. I like both, though. I don't think they necessarily needed one. It was done by an Italian recreator, but the one thing that I saw criticism of that I actually was like, yeah, I could see that's totally true, is that it is a Japanese company, but the rebranding was done in Italy, and therefore kind of the guy that is their new logo and mascot feels way more Italian than Japanese, which it's really fun to see him in all these different outfits and poses, and I love the splash of red and the focus on red, but I am kind of also in the idea that it could be, a little bit more reminiscent of like Japanese culture. The beret just feels not Japanese to me. That said, I really love that his collar, which is often accentuated in a bold, solid color, whereas this character is an outline doodle. It creates an M of his collar, no matter which direction you're looking at him, kind of like Mickey Mouse ears, it moves with it. But the M can stand for the MUI. And they totally reimagined the packaging. They reimagined the logo. I think the logo is totally ownable. Doesn't look like everything else. It's not a stupid sans serif. I love my sans serifs, but they're way too spread all over rebranding. And I think this is a very strong rebrand. And the brand new has a really good write-up about it if you pay for it. I pay $3 a month for the brand new subscription, and I learn a lot. But also, if you just go to the Happy Centro website, they also have a bunch of really beautiful, awesome case pictures, including this one. This is kind of the header image when you pull up their rebrand. Then let's go ahead and hop on over to resources. We talk about public domain imagery a lot on this show, and I always like to always call out when it is available, because as artists, sometimes you don't have an unlimited budget, and most times you don't have an unlimited budget, let's be honest. And so it's really exciting to see when it is ethically approached and there are new resources for artists to have free imagery, especially when it's focusing on public domain. Last week or the week before, we were talking a little bit about how there's a bunch of new stuff in the public domain because as the law has expired for just being infinite copyright, every year we go forward, there is more in the public domain. I know we talked about Popeye being public domain, and among a bunch of other things. But now the public domain review, which normally kind of brings to light different things that are public domain, have finally announced a public domain image archive. They announced this on January 8th, and it says, after thousands of hours trawling through online image collections since the PDR's inception, we've decided it was time to create one of our own. We're really excited to share with you the launch of our new sister project, the Public Domain Archive, PDIA, a curated collection of more than 10,000 out-of-copyright historical images free for all to explore and reuse. And it says, while the public domain review primarily takes the form of an arts journal, it also has quietly served as a digital art gallery. A bite from one fractured across essays and collections post, the PDI sets out to emphasize the visual nature of the PDR, freeing these images from their textual homes and placing them front and center for easier discovery, comparison, and appreciation. Very cool, very free, very accessible, and it's just on pdimagearchive.org, and you can search whatever you want. I am not brave enough to search because it might come up with nudity. I'm not entirely sure, and we're not going to risk that, but something for you to reference. And then one of our other things that we have for resources is a new product that was announced from Hollyland, and these are the Lark mics. This is something that I have used. These are the little lav mics that I have, but these are the next generation of them. And previously, they were just these circles that were magnets that you had, but they have now updated the form factor and are now these kind of like clips that you can have here. And it makes it so they're more secure. Apparently, have better sound quality. They are really great in my experience for the previous version, so I'm hoping that these are probably just as wonderful. They are saying that it's in 24-bit high fidelity for recording. You have it just linked to your phone, and it makes things like recording for video a lot better. It's very subtle and kind of just looks like a clip, so it hides well and doesn't ruffle too much. They even have little things where if you want to have kind of a dead cat on it, that's what this is called, that is also possible. I don't know if they are available yet. Let's see. Yes, looks like they're available. It's at $149, which, you know, is not the cheapest thing in the world, but also not the most expensive. I think it's very accessible to creators that, you know, have something that they're interested in. So you can go and check that out on hollyland.com. And then 2 quick resources. We have 10 old art books to read in the new year from Hyperallergic, and this is coming from a bunch of the team at Hyperallergic. They said this year we're rereading a fictional dialogue by Oscar Wilde, bell hooks books on art criticism, prose poetry by Edel Adnan, and more titles that won't make it onto most industry lists. I personally have my resolution to read every day, and so I will be trying to add some of these. If you guys end up reading any of these, or if you have already read any of these, please let me know. And I would also love to read along with you guys. Maybe we have a little cute little book club. And then one last resource we have before we go is 5 graphic design trends to keep an eye out for. This is from It's Nice That. Can you guys tell I like that website? And this is just a really good write-up of different things that they're seeing in the industry. We'll quickly just flip through them because we only have a few minutes left here. But they have one with very stamped, kind of certified first edition style, which is something that they have in logos. They say we usually encounter logos on our phones. Deliveroo might sit alongside Instagram and so on, where all these symbols compete for attention as sharp, hyperlegible gems, but we're getting the feeling that designers are growing tired of manufacturing digital-friendly buttons over and over, perhaps, and this is just a guess, that's why some are crafting book plates instead of app icons, graphic stamps better suited to first editions than a startup brand's guidelines. As far as typography, they're saying Art Deco's coming back, which I'm very excited about. I love Art Deco. They say, could Art Deco be coming back around 100 years later? We've certainly seen a lot of influences from the Golden Age appearing in the type world. And assets, they have miraculous movement. They said it's no news that the return to analog techniques has continued to surge across creative disciplines this year. The natural charm and beauty of handcrafted things is still standing firm against all of our digital developments. This was something we've dived into in more depth for 2024's Forward Thinking series. We didn't, however, anticipate just how labor-intensive some creatives' analog approaches would become this year, particularly in the field of animation. And then in motion, the library. Autoplay has become such a dominant force in graphic design that when looking forward to the future of the industry in this series of features, we had to dedicate a whole feature to it. It makes sense then that our impulse to keep things in constant motion naturally shows up in this feature of what visually trending in design 2. The trend here isn't motion overall. That could be an endless feature, but the idea of the motion library. Imagine a deck of cards being shuffled by an expert dealer. Each card jumps into the air, revealing its face, if only for a second before the deck jumps back into place. And yeah, just the ruling mood is Toadcore. This one was hard to pin down at first, but there's no denying that the illustration scene has been channeling a whimsy sense of escapism. It's what we call Toadcore, and it becomes a bit of a defining mood for the year. From twinkling toes of gnomes to mythical garlic babe memes, we've been swept into the simple live of cottagecore, and we're loving every minute of it. Really great write-up, lots of examples. Check it out. It's on It's Nice That. It is from Liz Gorney and Ellis Tree with animations by Seo Hyo-jung. But that's everything that we have for today. Once again, my name is Ryan Selvy, RyanSelvy. You can find me on Blue Sky at ryanselvy.com. You can find me on Instagram for now as just Ryan Selvy. I will let you guys know if I hop onto something else. And thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you to Wade for putting all the links in the chat for us. Thank you guys for checking things out. Stay tuned for office hours coming up right after this. You should be redirected if you're over on YouTube. Same with Behance. I will see you all same time, same place next week, right here on Adobe Live. Make sure you check out the raindrop if you need links. And I will see you all real soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.